City after city has erupted in anger and protest after the killing of George Floyd. It started with an unjust and tragic killing by police, much like events in Baltimore and Ferguson. However, it's pretty clear that now the protests have an economic component. Take a look at what's happening in Soho, Beverly Hills, and other high-end shopping districts. On the militarized streets, one chant has caught on. Beat the rich! Beat the rich! Beat the rich! Beat the rich! It's got a familiar ring to it. One can flash back 9 years to Occupy Wall Street. Beat the poor! Beat the rich! Beat the poor! Beat the rich! Occupy Wall Street was about mass unemployment. It was about bias among courts and law enforcement and a lack of accountability among the powerful in the United States. Economic inequality is hitting the African American community harder than ever. The rate of COVID-19 infection among African Americans is much higher. While America's billionaires have gotten richer amid the pandemic, the unemployment rate has risen to 20%, and that disproportionately affects African Americans. Not surprising that the sentiments of Occupy Wall Street are appealing right now.
Whole streets! Our streets! Whole streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! This is what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Tell me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
I haven't changed very much since then. My hair was certainly a lot longer, and I was among the demonstrators, taking it all in.
We need to design our own blueprint, and we need to start implementing it in the streets.
Parallels between the two movements, one primarily white, the other primarily African American, cannot be overlooked. If the similarities were not striking enough, take a look at the fact that the George Floyd protesters just had a standoff with the NYPD, with mass arrests taking place on a bridge connecting Brooklyn and Manhattan.
George Floyd! George Floyd! You do not want to be arrested. You must leave this area now and exiting behind you.
Now, to be fair, the police are dealing with a lot more street fighting and looting than they did during Occupy Wall Street. But OWS was not 100% peaceful either. And in both cases, the response to the protesters has been pretty heavy-handed repression.
We found out many things. It's like a movement, and it's a movement that if you don't put it down, it'll get worse and worse. This is like Occupy Wall Street. It was a disaster until one day somebody said, "That's enough," and they just went in and wiped them out. And that's the last time we ever heard the name Occupy Wall Street.
The point of view of the government and the parties is a very ominous turn of events when people are beginning to focus on the neoliberal power configuration and the failure of the economy to be able to provide the basic human needs. This is not just about George Floyd. That, of course, was the trigger. But thousands of people who are in the streets are in the streets because they have perceived that their lives, like George Floyd, mean very little. So there's a real anger in the population. And these young people who are out there in the streets, they are out there because they are beginning to make certain connections. And those connections are going way beyond anything called justice just for this one individual, George Floyd.